Hello and welcome back to In the Kitchen with me, Mikey. Thank you all for coming back. For those that are watching again, this is a new camera. We're going to see if this does any better, get a little better quality. Today we are making enchiladas from scratch. Cheese enchiladas. None of it's going to be intimidating. I promise. Excuse me. First, we're going to start with the enchilada sauce, a necessity for enchiladas, with just basic oil. You want 2 tablespoons, 3 of your favorite vegetable oil, olive oil, any kind of an oil you'd like. In the oil, you want to brown a little bit of flour. I say it could vary. 2 to 3 tablespoons should be sufficient. And it also depends on how thick you like your enchilada sauce. I like mine to be rather thin and runny. While this is starting to heat up, you don't want to scorch your flour, but you do want to get some color on your flour. We are also going to toss in the spices so they warm up and their oils have a chance to really mingle and get to know each other. First, you have 1 full tablespoon of cumin, 1 full tablespoon of your favorite chili powder, 1 teaspoon garlic powder, and I have a little bit of cayenne in here, depending again on how spicy you like it. Normally, I would use fresh garlic, but since this needs to be a rather thin dish, garlic powder is fine. Now, to your spice, oil, and flour mixture, you want to add 1/2 of a can of chicken stock. If all you have is vegetable stock on hand or beef, don't worry about it, use it. I would say to use a low sodium because some of the other ingredients you'll be adding also have high in salt, especially canned tomatoes. You'll notice that this starts to thicken up. You won't know its full thickness until it comes to a rolling boil, and then you'll know how it is. I don't recommend you let it roll because it likes to spit. Now you add 1 full can of tomato sauce. If you see that your mixture is a little too thick for your taste, which it looks like this one may end up being just a little thick, use some of your reserved stock, not your reversed stock, your reserved stock, to thin it down where you like it. I added about another cup. Now you can turn it off. You want it to cool slightly. We're going to move over here and show you it's already mixed because it did need to set. Since we're making our own, have a drink, perfect time for it. Since we are making our own tortillas. If tortillas are something you use a lot of, especially corn tortillas, do it yourself at home. You get a better product, tastes better. I know, convenience. Once a month, come on, give it a shot. And this, you could squash anything you want in there. Eggs, I wouldn't recommend it, but you could. I don't know. What all would you squish that thin? Any ideas, Roy?
I don't know. Pancakes.
They're already cooked.
Oh,
breads! You can do flatbreads in there.
You can make a naan in there.
Okay. You want about a golf ball size piece of your masa. Your masa, simple meal, usually next to the flour. You mix it only with hot water, and that's it. I know as soon as I don't, it's going to stick. Your favorite spray.
Yes.
Lay right in the center. Fold your wax paper over.
Ta-da!
I didn't have it quite far enough back.
Still.
And once it's off, just
Really
throw it
good.
immediately into a hot pan. Leave it for about a minute. While that's doing, move on to your next. This, I used 1 cup of masa, 1 3/4 cup hot water, and I could make 19 6-inch tortillas. It's a lot for a little bit. Let's move that back just a smidge more.
Ta-da!
Your first one should be about ready on that side. Use a non-stick pan, cast iron if you have it. Yeah, we're not going to flip it.
There you go. Oh, yep.
There. I'm going to have to replace this pan. It's
Unruly.
It's unruly. There you go. I think it's broken.
Uh-oh.
See, when a Keurig's not in use, comes in real handy.
Sure.
I honestly don't think I let the pan get hot enough for the first one. You want to do about 1.5 to 2 minutes on each side. They do not need to brown, and you will have the best homemade tortillas. Next, we are going to be making, if the cameraman decides that the camera's on,
Yeah.
next we're going to be making the cheese filling for the enchiladas. You want 2 full cups of your favorite shredded cheese. I recommend something with cheddar, so it doesn't tend to melt out completely. In your 2 cups, you want about 1/4 of a cup of your cooled enchilada sauce. You'll see why momentarily. You want about 1/2 cup to a cup of onions. Your personal preference. I like onions. I put a lot in. It's a little bit more than 1/2 cup. And about 1/2 of a cup of cilantro. Save some for garnish later. I use a stand mixer. If you prefer, you can do this by hand. On low, maybe 45 seconds to a minute, and you'll see what happens. The cheese starts coming together. Save you a little bit of work. You don't want it to fully ball up on you. It's almost there. Until it's mixed relatively close to a good bread dough where your cheese starts pulling away from the sides. That's about all you need. Then to make your enchiladas, take your mixture, clean hands of course. Your preference for filling. I like mine, depending on the tortilla size. You want it about 1/3 of the size of the tortilla. These are the homemade tortillas Roy just made.
Ta-da!
We're going to roll them up. And you place them in a glass baking vessel, metal, whatever you prefer. And I did miss one small step on here. Yeah. You want to spray the bottom of your pans. Let's see if I can not knock off both lids at once. I'll chase that one down later. This is so they don't stick. And put about 1/8 of a cup, whatever will cover the bottom of your pan. Trust me, this will prevent a lot of sticking and keep your tortillas very moist. There's that word again.
I wasn't going to say a word.
Running joke.
Yes.
I'll make one more, and then you can be on your own with them. This tortilla is a little smaller, so we'll make the cheese ball just a little smaller. And altogether, it took us, I think, 10 minutes to make all of the tortillas. And you just keep at it, rolling until you either run out of cheese or run out of tortillas. This is a dish that if you're going to do it, why not do double? It's going to be just as easy. And this dish freezes amazing. Just finish rolling them all. Once you have your full layer in, cover with your enchilada sauce. If you want to bake it and eat it now, go ahead. I won't stop you. Set your oven at 350. Place on your middle rack for about 30 to 40 minutes or until your cheese and sauce is bubbly. Also, when you finish, if you'd like, you can take some of your reserved cheese mixture, if you reserved any, and place on top. Or just open another bag and use more cheese. Hey, what can you say? And that is your enchilada dinner. Goes great with a rice, of course beans. I like black beans, a little cumin, a little jalapeno. If you want, even use them out of the can. Just heat them up. Again, salt, pepper, little jalapeno, maybe some lime, cumin. Cumin goes great with black beans. Cumin goes great with almost any beans. Okay. Our enchiladas are now out of the oven. As you can see, we're about to start our dessert. I did have some reserved cheese to place on top. Still bubbling. You do want to let them cool for a few minutes if you value your tongue. Okay, for dessert, we are doing an Egyptian dessert. I should say more Middle Eastern. This dessert I've seen done 10 different ways. It is called Kunafa. It is a mozzarella cheese dessert. I was kind of skeptical myself, but just watch. First, in a pot, you want to melt 1 full stick of butter. Once your butter's cooled slightly, you're going to use your second ingredient, which is coarse ground semolina. It's a form of a flour, most commonly used in all of your pastas. It's always with semolina flour.
What's that?
Hopefully your neighbors are letting off firecrackers.
I hope so too.
To the butter, you want to add 1 full cup and a half of your semolina to the butter. Return the butter to the heat. On about medium high. Saturate your semolina. And then just let it sit for a couple of minutes. You want to start getting some color on your semolina. It's going to provide a very, very nutty flavor. In a second pan, we have the simple syrup mix. So far, I've added 1 full cup of sugar. Granulated's fine. You want about a half a cup to a cup of water to dissolve your sugar to start your syrup. You do want the syrup a little thicker than a simple syrup, so just drop your water ratio down by about half. Cook that to a boil. Return to your semolina. You don't want to scorch it, but you do want to brown it. That will add so much flavor. Okay. Your semolina and butter mixture now has just a little bit of color if you see around the edges.
It smells nutty.
Very nutty. That's the butter in it. You want to turn it off completely. Now, traditionally, this dish is served with the coating, which is what we're making here, and the color is orange. I haven't been able to find the significance on why they color it, but they do. So we are going to stick with tradition and try to make a bright orange ourselves. I don't think I'm going to be successful. We're getting a slight color out of it. And as it's still in the pan is still hot, you're still going to get more of your nutty smell. Once it's completely and thoroughly mixed, which we are absolutely not going to get any orange color. So, thankfully we still have one ingredient. Setting to the side, you should have 1.5 cups to 2 cups of milk. Room temperature is best, but since I forgot to mention that it was out, cold is fine. Although mine is at room temperature. What I should have done, thinking it was still here, was to mix the food coloring in here to get our... We're just going to pretend that that's a very pretty orange color. Even though it's not.
It's so
We're going to try just a couple, maybe. Something tells me I should probably leave well enough alone and just leave it as strawberry pink.
Yeah.
Then you can have your friends just question, well, that's definitely a color.
It's pretty.
It's definitely a color. We're going to stop there. And pour in with your pan still hot. The semolina will start to absorb. You don't want to make a paste. You just want to get a little bit thinner than where we're at right now. Because you still want to make your crust, which is what we will do now. That's kind of, sort of, mostly orange.
That'll do.
It'll do. Get a hot pot. It's really handy. This is live cooking, by the way.
Yes, it's really live.
Now I have a pan set aside. This is just a decorative pie plate. Depending on the size, you may not need all of the filling, which is fine because I've seen them also do this on top. Your crust should be a little more than 1/4 way up the side of whatever vessel you choose. I wouldn't go too much further. You'll end up getting more of a top than really a good filling. You want to press it down in with the amount of the amount of butter that's in here. It should not stick. We shall see. Somehow, some way, it's going to mess up. You just want to sprinkle a light coating on what will be the top, but is currently your bottom, of sugar. And then start adding your shredded mozzarella cheese. 2 cups here. Actually, I have 4 cups here because I wasn't entirely sure about the size of this pan. When you think you have enough, you want to put a little bit more because you are going to get shrinkage. And when it comes out of the oven, you will see the final step. I'm going to add just a little bit more. Now's a good time to go ahead and get your pistachios ready. You'll need about 1/4 cup of chopped pistachios. I do have a little bit more there because, well, we needed something to snack on. You want to place this in a 350-degree oven for about 20 minutes, and it would appear I've dyed my hand. Try to avoid that. The oven is preheated. You want it in there not so much for color on the cheese, but make sure it is completely melted all the way through, and you do get a little bit more color on the crust. See you in 20 minutes.
Wait a second.
It's been 20 minutes, and our kunafa is ready to come out of the oven. Bubbling cheese. Now I'm going to let this set for just a moment or two to try and let the cheese set up a little bit before it gets flipped. And then we will add the sauce.
Oh.
Now, to plate our enchiladas. It's actually semi-important that you remember which direction you laid them, or you can peek. At this point, honestly, they'll probably fall apart. They're so tender and cooked. Well, as you saw, they were beautiful coming out, and one decided to stick with all the cheese. See if we can... There. You get the idea. They're enchiladas. They're supposed to be slightly messy. Now, take a knife and gently go around the edge. This should be served while extremely hot. Just going to loosen up a little bit of the cheese, and we're going to cross our fingers that this will actually come out of the pan. If it doesn't, that's going to be one of those times when I say, well, I'm sure it will taste just as good. It's happened. It will happen again. And it looks like it is not going to come out. So I'm going to show you this as it is right now, and how pretty and what it should look like.
Oh, there it goes.
It's starting to. I think what would have helped is a little bit of the dry semolina on there, and it would have fallen right out. Thank you for joining us this week, both Roy and I. We'll be back next week with something new and exciting. Oh, but wait. We're forgetting something, and I can't remember what it is.
Oh, yeah.
Guess what time it is?
Oh, gosh.
This is one of our segments where we try something new and unusual that we have found. This week, I found, it goes by so many names. A horned melon, African cucumber, horned fruit. This is what it looks like open. Beautiful green color, and it is very reminiscent of a melon or even a cucumber, which is in the melon family. They say the taste can vary from lime to melon, cucumber. What else?
Banana.
Bananas. So we are going to see. They recommend you try it with both salt and with sugar. I have 2 salt and 2 sugar, and I do not know which one. So I'm going to try. And try to guess if it's any good. Or not really guess if it's any good, but tell you if it's any good. I think that was one with sugar. It's very, very reminiscent of... I taste banana, orange. That's most of it. The texture, though, is most off-putting. It's definitely very slimy. The taste is somewhat sour. Maybe even an unripe strawberry is in there. It's a very unique, multi-flavored fruit vegetable thing.
They also said you can eat the rind.
Oh, yes, they said you can eat the rind. Thanks for reminding us.
Talk about fiber.
Very fibrous. A little bitter. Not terrible. It might be good letting it soak in a little bit of vinegar. Well, until next week, if you have any ideas of something that you'd want to try, let us know, and hey, one of us will taste it. That was supposed to be Roy all the time, but, I'll take one for the team, too.
Thank God.
Thank you guys for stopping by this week. We'll see you next Saturday.